Hello, good morning, and today we'll be answering a bit of a unusual question. Well, I guess it's kind of like one of those cases where it's just like two groups that have kind of thrown around this weird back and forth over like, oh, this game has this stuff, this game doesn't kind of situation. So, FFT and TO, these two they got their usual weird sort of not quite rivalry because it's the same people kind of situation going on. But yeah, one criticism I've seen thrown around before was, hey, FFT had all these cool skills and TO did not. Oh man, they took everything out. And I've usually said the total opposite, that it's basically got everything and then some. But I've never actually gone through and verified each and every single one, so that is exactly what we're going to do here today. We're just going to like rapid fire go through and see, if, when, how any of these skills are kind of the same, different, what have you. Alright, so without any further ado, let's do some kind of brain science here. Okay, so I have a list up in the background here of just every class, all their skills. So whatever order and whatever remembering this guy did, that's what we're going by. Okay, this was a guide, by the way. I should probably throw this out there by, let's see, a Saren Tobias or a Shinesatori, I guess? I'm one of those. Anyway, so this is like just a list of all abilities, supposedly. Alright, so starting off with the Squire here. So we have Accumulate. I feel like it's, while we could say Strengthen and some of the abilities that give you Strengthen and stuff like that, I feel like its closest thing is probably Mighty Impact, because that's the same general idea. You've got Basic Class, move that lets them hit harder. It doesn't stack, so it could be seen as a rebalance of Accumulate being completely friggin' busted. So yeah, I don't know who exactly had the bright idea of, let's just have a move that lets you infinitely boost your attack, but oh well. You've got Dash, so that's basically just Knockback, which you can put Knockback on almost anybody. You've got the different ranks of Knockback. Yeah, rank 1 can go on almost anyone, and this kind of just goes down depending on how severe it goes. But yeah, Physical Attack and Knockback you can put on most of the classes. Throw Stone, everyone just kind of has that. Different classes have different flavors. Like, for example, you got Sling Stone instead for Sword Masters, or a Throwing Dagger on ninjas. But for the most part, it's all the same thing. I mean, you've got stuff like like Ozma over here, who just curses at people, so there's that too. Alright, and then Heal, which is a recovery from abnormal status. There's a few different flavors of this one. So, for example, you've got like the Ranger variant here, which will get rid of Bound, Shackle, and Stop. You've got the Stirring Kiss variant with the Buccaneer, who will get rid of Shackle and Hobble. So, like, some of them are kind of oddly specific like that. Despite the fact that Heal is described as just recovery from all abnormal status, it only gets rid of Darken, Silence, and Poison. So I kind of feel it's pretty much equivalent in terms of being oddly specific. Next up, Counter Tackle. Almost anybody can equip Counter, so let's go over to this. So yeah, as per always, you've got different severities of the skill depending on who can use it. So almost everyone can use Counter Attack 1, pretty much everybody but dedicated spellcasters, and then it just kind of goes up as it goes up. Interestingly enough, Terror Knights actually lose access to Counter 4. Never realized that. Anyway. So there's that. By the way, weird funny note, I did confirm what the guide said. Terror Knights do actually have higher evasion than Sword Masters. Get wrecked, Sword Masters. Anyway, Equip Axe, I mean, it's basically just Axe in this one. If you can equip Axes, fantastic. Where is it? Here we go. I mean, most characters can use Axes, so there's that. Again, it's not going to be exactly the same, but same general idea. I feel like it's about the same. And by the way, I should mention that, as you can see here, some characters are able to use the skill and transfer it over even if they can't learn it. So, for example, like the Princess and Lord there. I believe there's actually more that I don't have on this save file, but anyway. Defend. So defend and prepare for next attack. You've got Steel Stance over on ninjas. You've got Risk Management over on Berserkers. You've got Phalanx over on Knights, so just several different versions of the same idea, depending on flavor for the class. Gain JP up, you just basically use more of the same type of unit in a class. Everybody kind of just has that built in. Move +1 is just Swift Foot 1 and 2. So this applies to all movement abilities, but yeah, Swift Foot 1 and 2 over here. That moves us on to the Knight. So let's see here. Head break, so used to destroy an item on equipment's head, or on a target's head. So all of the break abilities, that would not be a thing in this one. There's no way to lose equipment. There's only, well, with exception, if you use the Snapdragon weapons, technically speaking, it eats your character and then it turns into a new weapon and you have to pick it up. That's the only way that you're actually losing equipment in this game. Personally, I feel like that's a good thing, because as neat as that system is in theory, I'm pretty sure most folks hated it. Not saying one or the other, I'm just saying, like, I don't think anybody's not been frustrated by the only times that break actually works, because it's usually only against the player. Anyway, magic break, diminish an enemy's MP. That's basically anything curse related. Magic or speed break diminishes enemy speed level. Basically anything slow related. A few weapons have slow attached to them. Or for that matter, fairies also can essentially just reduce recovery time with their moves. Or increase recovery time, sorry. Gremlins, fairies, all that kind of thing. Let's see what else. Power break. I would probably put the closest thing as Terra Knight's Terrifying Impact on that one. It kind of reduces everything. Actually, same thing for Mind break. Just Terrifying Impact is essentially both of those put into one. Because you're pretty much reducing all outgoing damage and increasing all incoming damage. So it could be argued that most of these just became the Terra Knight. Weapon guard, parry attacks with equipped weapon. Just parry in this one, which it ended up becoming parry in the FFT remake as well. So for anything like that where it's a name change, I am going with the original versions and naming conventions. But basically, it's the same thing, except you can rank it up, so the more you use it, the better your parry gets. Alright, equip armor, equip shield, equip sword. Same thing, it's just a class thing now. So, either way. Minor difference on that one, but most classes can equip armor. Everyone can equip some kind of shield, with exception to swordmasters. And almost everybody can equip some kind of sword. Because there's a lot of different swords in this one, depending on how specific you really want to get with it. Like one-handed swords, about half the classes. Two-handed swords, about another half the classes. If you want to get into katanas, there's a couple. Two-handed katanas, there's a couple. There's a few of the daggers that are kind of basically short swords, which, yeah, many of the, like for example, the Cincadia is a short sword in FFT, and I'm pretty sure it's a dagger in this one. But, it's kind of neither here nor there. It's just kind of... Let me double check that, because I'm fairly certain that's right. I could be mixing... I think it might have been a remake, or a renaming. And I'm thinking partially this, because I think this was almost the exact same sprite that was used for that short sword in FFT. It could be something that looks very similar. Either way, point being, many of these are, functionally speaking, almost short swords. Moving on. Not really related to the thing at hand. Charge 1 through 20. God, I always forget how boring archers were. Basically, you've got a tremendous impact, tremendous shot. So you just get a guaranteed hit plus crit. It can be deflected, but still almost guaranteed hit, which is actually also working in concentration on that one. So you basically have all of your charges and concentration as one move. Arguably, Eagle Eye is also equivalent to concentration, wherein you're essentially giving a guaranteed ranged attack bonus to everybody nearby. I'm not entirely sure why there's an unused Eagle Eye 2 here, by the way. There's only just Eagle Eye. I guess at some point they wanted to put Eagle Eye 2. Come to think of it, that's interesting. So Eagle Eye 2 in that case would have been a tremendous shot that went to everybody. I never even realized that. That's pretty cool. Anyway, Speed save. Strange as it sounds, this is also in TO, but not how you think it might be. So, speed save essentially works by letting you get hit and then speeding you up. In TO's version, you get hit, and then you have the option to turn on Speed Star. So, basically, same effective deal. You can also just attack and activate it, but, you know, for the purpose of having something similar, I would say that's about the closest. Arrow Guard, you've got Deflect, so basically all ranged attacks except for guns, you can just potentially deflect. Most characters can use that. Equip Crossbow. Similar to the other ones, crossbows are another one of those weapon types that just has a pretty wide bit of access. A little over half the characters are able to use them, so you've got plenty of access there. Not everyone can use the heavy variants, but like the basic one-handed variants, as well as being able to use them with Death Whale. Almost everybody can use that. Concentrate cannot evade your attacks. Concentration is directly an ability in this one for ninjas, wherein they can guarantee their moves will hit. Let me find it in here somewhere. I don't know. Sometimes stuff's a little hard to find on this crazy long skill list, but I'm pretty sure most folks are aware that yes, you can get concentration as an ability on ninjas. Just guarantees that their ninja abilities will hit. So, for example, like stuff like Shadowbind and whatnot. However, if you need to get a guaranteed attack hit, that's where you got the Warrior and Archer moves for that. Jump +1 is directly just jump 1 and 2, right here. Alright, moving on to the Monk. Let's see, Spin Fist, attacks with Spinning Fists. I would say the closest variant is probably the Berserker while using a fist, and Berserk. So basically just attacking an area around them. Repeating Fist, so just random damage. You do have a multi-hit move with fists. So you do have a multi-hit finisher that could kind of be seen as similar. It's more so just an accurate multi-hit, but it could be seen as being relatively random damage. Wave Fist. Well, you've got one of the finishers that's able to do that. I forget the name of it exactly. But yeah, you just kind of attack somebody from far away. Earth Slash. Yeah, you don't really have a direct line ability now that I think about it. I feel like there's some exceptions. Like, mechanically it is possible, so I feel like there probably is something I'm forgetting in that regard. Because Earth Slash is one of the axe finishers for the One Vision mod. But A, there really isn't... I don't think there's that in here. And B, I'm not sure there's really much of a reason for it either. Secret Fist, so causes death gradually, as it says. Basically just death sentence kind of move. I mean, you could say Envenom, I guess. Nah, not really. So yeah, death sentence isn't really a thing in this one. Usually it's just you have a finisher that's strong enough to just instantly kill somebody, so there's that. Stigma Magic, I would say that's closest to the Cleric's thing here. So, where is it over here? So, Mother's Mercy basically just gets rid of all abnormal statuses. Chakra is... It's not exactly the same, but you've got a few different flavors of this one. I would say probably the closest just directly here would probably be the First Aid variant that the Lord gets, where it just heals nearby units within one tile. It's not amazing, but it's there. It's definitely not as crazy overpowered as Chakra was. Revive, you get revive moves on angels as well as clerics. All right, let's see. HP restore. Restore HP when terminal. That's something that rune fencers get. It's HP infusion, as well as MP infusion when we get to that. So basically you get hit, and depending on how much TP you've built up, that's how much health you heal. Counter, everybody gets counter. Hamido is essentially the entire gimmick of the Swordmaster class, and probably why they suck so hard. But you've got Mind's Eye for evading stuff if you want, you've got Preempt for attacking before the other guy, and then you just combine Preempt and Knockback to basically get Hamido. Alright, martial arts gain the ability of barehanded fighting strength. You basically just go for proper base stat training on strength, and then overlevel into a story fight, and there you go. You're instant punching dudes, but it's not really much of a thing in this one. You've technically got fist weapons, but that's neither here nor there. Move HP up. Yeah, I wouldn't say that would be a thing. Alright, so no movement-related health boosts. That, funnily enough, though, it is mechanically possible, because that's something that was added for the One Vision mod, where you have a teleport plus heal. So, mechanically possible, intentionally not used, I believe. Could be wrong on that, let me know if I'm wrong. Alright, so Thief. Basically, anything steel-related, we can just go ahead and put down to steel. You steal craftables instead of equipment in this one. Like I said, they kind of went out of their way to make sure that you can't quite lose equipment in this one. I personally think that's a good thing. Everyone's mileage may vary. Steel Heart, just the Caldia. A lot of units can use the Caldia. It just lets you use a charm on somebody else. There's a lot of charm moves that different classes have, though funnily enough, it actually uses a similar idea where you have to have visual line of sight to somebody to charm them. So Steel, we're just putting Steel under all the same thing. Steel Experience, not quite a thing, because they wanted to patch that stuff up in this one. Caution, you get defense for triggered by HP damage. I feel like its closest version is Phalanx, where usually... Okay, got a random phone call there, but to make a long story short, yeah, for Caution, I feel like Phalanx is probably its most similar version, just because it reduces defense, or it increases defense by 90%, or reduces incoming damage by 90%, and again, triggered by HP damage. You basically get hit, you build up TP, you use it then. It's kind of the main, like, mechanical switch over, that instead of just, like, your hit thing happens, instead it's like, you're hit, you've got points for it, you can use those points for the ability. Does tend to reduce frustrations on stuff like repeatedly triggering a counter effect. Anyway, Gil Game Heart, receive Gil in the amount of damage you received. This is a very, very niche ability called Spendthrift. I think it comes up in like 2 maps in the entire game, wherein essentially this almost exact effect happens, where you end up losing money while somebody's affected by it. It's a very, very strange thing. Anyway, catch thrown item and keep it. You don't really keep items, but it could be put down as deflect. Since thrown items are affected by deflect. Well, I guess thrown weapons, anyway. Secret Hunt. If you beat a monster, you can take it to a fur shop. Fair enough, except you don't need a skill for it. You could say Tame is that ability then, because you basically go to your Beast Tamers. You tame a monster. Let's go over here. You get Subdue. You get Subdue or Tame for monsters or dragons. Then you bring them to the shop, and at that point you can sell them and buy their parts. So, for example, do we have anybody to auction off? Yeah, there's no monsters in the party currently, but you auction them off. You get a little bit of money, and then you pick up their items over here. So, for example, if you end up going and getting rid of dragons, then you end up getting orbs for that same effect, as well as their class marks if you need them for something. If you end up putting away golems and things, you get ores. If you put away some monsters, you get a few other things. Like, depending on the different stuff you sell to the store, you get different kind of crafting materials and stuff that you get. Interesting little side note is that Beast Tamers, as well as being kind of the go-to for where you get those skills. They also tend to use thrown weapons a lot of the times, and all of their upgrade components for their thrown weapons can be gotten from auctioning off monsters. It's just kind of a neat little thing on that regard. Alright, so move +2, jump +2, same thing, just swift foot and jump. Then we get to the Geomancer. Interestingly, the Geomancer's whole gimmick seems to have come from map tiles in this game to begin with, wherein you had different elements assigned to different tiles. For the remake, it got changed to just water and fire being affected by those particular tiles, but pretty much everything related to the octopus, as well as everything related to the oracles would be what's going on here. So let me find the oracles real quick, wherever in this giant pile of classes that they're at. Let's see, songstress, where's shaman? There we go. All right. So pitfall, we'll see what these are. So as far as elemental tiles, it's just a map function. So it does have checks for a lot of these, because all of the different map tiles do have varying effects on your accuracy, on your footing, on, well, a few spell effects and things like that. So it could be seen as just baked into the game itself. As far as specialized, like a class specialized in nature, that would essentially be the shaman in spirit here, wherein, let's see if they actually have them here. So Nature's Whisper will tell you how the elements are actually functioning in the map. So the more you cast of particular spells, the more it affects different spells on said map. Like light and dark will just boost themselves, but the natural elements will essentially deplete themselves and boost their opposite. And then Nature's Touch just gives you a bonus to the next elemental spell. But anyway, so as far as the class just based on nature, there's that. As far as the actual stuff here, to a lesser degree, it's just kind of baked into the maps themselves. Let's see, Counterflood, no real direct version of that, similarly because it's just part of the map. Attack Up, that's just Strengthen, almost everybody can learn that. And it should be noted, contrary to what still a lot of folks believe, Strengthen and Fortify and things like that just increase your maximum of a certain thing. So for example, Fortify will scale down the maximum incoming damage. Strengthen will increase your maximum possible damage. So if you're still, like, if you're just not getting past armor, you're not getting past armor. You can have as much Strengthen as you want. It really won't do very much unless you actually have a character that's able to do stuff. Basically, the higher their skill, the better they are at getting past defenses, the more something like this will benefit you. Anyway, moving on. Any ground, easily walk over waterlands and like rivers. That would be either any of the traversal rings or boots, or the ninja abilities, which, let's see if we can look at those real quick. Apparently I don't have them all on this one. Yeah, even my test file, I don't have everything unlocked on there, but you can get, like, water shoes and stuff like that. The ninjas have tools that they can use to walk on water. Move on lava. You've got Spark Guard boots and the, I think it's like Lava Ring or something like that for that. Here, let's see. Spark Guard Ring. There you go. You get Lava Walk on that. And then for the boots, you've got Spark Guard boots. Or once again, you can walk on lava. The Spark Guard boots are actually pretty solid. So even if you don't need the Lava Walk thing, these are just a solid piece of equipment. Alright, next up we got the Lancer. Let's see, a long-range jump move. I mean, how exactly would we handle this one? Can they use spears? No. I mean, you could argue pretty much anything related to the winged classes, maybe. There's at least a argument to be made there. It's just you really have more just innate flying units than you do jumping units. But anyway, Dragoon Spirit, protection from death. You had this in the original Tactics Ogre by just equipping a Blessing Stone, and this one you just use a Blessing Stone. So I wouldn't say there's a direct version of that I can think of off the top of my head. Equip Spear regardless of job. Technically kind of there, but spears are way more limited in this one. So you only have a handful of classes that specialize in spears, mostly because they seem to be afraid of how good spears could be in this one. I know that doesn't seem logical now, but given how the game's mechanics works, it kind of makes sense to some degree. Anyway, moving on. Ignore height. That's basically just flight boots. So you got flight boots, you got the flight ring, so your winged ring, your wing boots, you know, I call them flight boots, but whatever. They make you go flappy flap and go places. Pretty much everybody can use them. Alright. Moving on, the Dancer. So the Dancer's most direct variant is going to be the Songstress. And let's go over to her real quick. See if I actually have her spells on here. I'll have some of them. Close enough. So causes MP damage. There's actually one of the Angel songs that causes MP damage. Let's see. Wisnobus causes HP damage. Do they learn that, is the question. Do I have any Angel Knights in the team? Because I'd love to test that, and no. As far as HP damage, I believe one of their moves does do that, but only to undead. Lowers enemy speed. That's one of the Sword Master dances, because there's 3 different dancing and singing classes in this one. Let's see. Dance with vivacious moves. Lowers physical attack power. Also something the Sword Master does. Magic attack power. That's something the Songstress does, as one of her songs. Sorry, trying to get back to it now. As you can probably tell, it's a bit of a fustercluck as far as all this stuff goes. Let's see, causes various abnormal statuses. That would probably fall under the umbrella of several different ones. So the Songstress has a version like that. You've got... It's not completely random, but you've got a few different ones that can happen. But the fairies and gremlins have stuff like Virtuous Dance, and the other one I'm forgetting the name of right now. That can cause like Bind Shackle Stop, or like Poison Bewitch Silence, or something like that. So that's mostly a fairy or gremlin thing. And then, let's see, Last Dance turns enemies' CT count to 0. That is, that's one of the Swordmaster moves there, where you can cause enemies to reset. Let's see, attack save, raise physical attack power. Could, once again, be argued to be that warrior ability on that one. Raises Brave. Brave isn't really a feature in this one. I mean, your conditions and percentages are pretty much locked in, except for debuffs, so not really relevant. They're just kind of locked where they are. Jump +3, we already have that covered. Fly to leap over obstacles, already have that covered. Pretty much both these would be under flight for this one. Flight or hover. Technically, jump 2 plus hover is the equivalent of jump 3 here. So for Chemist, almost anybody can use Field Alchemy. Pretty sure that one was fairly obvious, but yeah, pretty much everybody gets this. There isn't really even much limited access in that regard. Pretty much everybody just gets Field Alchemy. As you can see, can go up and down. Really doesn't change. As far as items go, Potion, High Potion, X Potion, yeah, those are all in here. Ether, High Ether, same here. Those are just Mend Leaves and Magic Leaves of different variants. And Seeds. You've got, for Elixirs, you've got the Angel Fruits. For pretty much all your debuff removal stuff, they've all got 1-to-1s. For example, Phoenix Downs are just Blessing Stones, except you've got an extra variant. Auto Potion, let's see, use the lowest available... Could be argued HP Infusion on that. Could also... Yeah, I would say HP Infusion is probably the closest variant. Alright, Throw Item. That would be your Lobbers. So that's actually an item instead of a skill. So Lobber 1, 2, and 3. Almost every... So almost everybody can use the Lobber, and then you've got upgraded versions, which will give you different items that can be used with them, as well as improved range. Maintenance, pretty much everybody could be argued to already have maintenance on account of your equipment can't change. Equip change, well, you can't. You can equip 2 different weapon types and swap between them, but you can't do equip change in the middle of a fight. That would pretty much remove any option anybody has to complain about getting soft-locked anywhere in this game, but either way, it would be really, really busted to be able to do that. I can only imagine how amazing a solo would be with equip change. Move Find ability, you've got Treasure Hunter. Everybody can already Move Find, but Treasure Hunter basically changes the drop pool. So you got Treasure Hunt 1 and 2. Alright, for Priest, so the Cleric in this one is more of a buff and debuff support with the option to heal, as well as being an Exorcist. they're not really a dedicated healer. Well, they are, but they aren't. They're the best at using those heal abilities, but realistically, kind of like FFT, I suppose. Okie doke. One very long call later, and I've completely lost track of where I was on this. So I believe what I was going on about here was I was actually with the Priest and Cleric here. Very similar ideas. Main difference between the two is just with FFT, they scaled based off stats. In TO, they have a low scaling based off Augment as well as Prevailing Element. And then we'll have locked ranges for the most part for their heals. So it's like 40, 60, 80, 100, and then have with a skill to double that for a one-time use. But yeah, Cure 1 to 4, basically the same as Heal 1 to 4. Raise, actually let me switch over to the spells real quick here. Actually, we'll go over to the Priest, because it's arguably a bit more similar, but... So heal 1 to 3. I don't have 4 on the save file, but anyway, so we'll say heal 1 to 4, same as cure 1 to 4. Raise and raise 2, basically resurrect and resurrect 2. Re-raise, there isn't a direct equivalent aside from maybe necromancy, wherein you can just basically use living corpse and then somebody can re-raise themselves that way. It's more of a flavor thing. It's just automatic re-raising isn't really much of a thing in this one. It used to be in the original, wherein you could equip a Blessing Stone. In this one, you have to use a Blessing Stone instead. Regen is over on Angels and Warlocks, who get... where is it here? Who get Gift of Renewal. Basically... Actually, I believe it's over... Yeah, it's over on the Lord as well. Actually, wait a minute. Angels... They don't get a Gift of Renewal? I could have sworn they did. Well, anyway, apparently they don't get a Gift of Renewal. They get Gift of Restoration, which is Healcraft, which is just utter garbage. It's kind of an appallingly bad thing here. It basically is just a temporary buff to heals, but it's really, really minor. Anyway, Protect... I mean, same thing as Protect in the Earth Tree there. Protect 2, just a different version of the same thing. Shell, I believe Ice has that. I'm surprised I don't have them all on this one. But basically, it's either Ice or Water or something like that. And one of them has something that that causes you to get resilience, but basically same thing. Wall, the closest version to Wall would probably be the Matriarch using Earth. So if you use the Matriarch, you get Protect, and then you use your action move to put on Intercession. Let's go over to the skills here real quick. And Intercession just leaves you immune to magic for the next magic attack. Arguably, you could do the same thing with Resilience and Evade. So similar idea. Basically what it comes down to is in many cases for Tactics Ogre, because you can take multiple actions in one round, many of those things got split into pieces. So in this particular case, you can basically just render yourself immune to one thing, highly resistant to another, or you could just stack both to some degree. It's kind of entirely based on how you feel like combining those at any given time. There's really not much of a use for both the physical and magical barrier at any given point, because usually, usually you'll know what you're currently afraid of, and it's usually not going to be both at the same time. Izuna is, well, the one class that can use something similar to Izuna is going to be the Cleric. With Mother's Mercy, who can just basically say, hey, I don't have debuffs anymore. It's what makes them the most reliable healers, because they can't get silenced, stopped, shackled, whatever. Well, I guess technically they can be stopped, but as long as they're able to take a turn at all, they can use Mother's Mercy to shake off all debuffs before actually taking their turn. It does mean they can't use their double heal, but whatever. So that's the closest equivalent to that, but then you've also got spells like Ease, which have a similar effect, but they will only remove the top available debuff off the list. Plus, it's also pretty expensive to cast. Actually, one thing I should double-check real quick before I forget. Yeah, Exorcism is 34, not 30. Meant to check that before. Anywho, so ease will get rid of everything eventually, but yeah, you do have to use them multiple times. And then Holy is why I switched over to Priest for this particular one, because you do have access to those here. Technically speaking here, I don't think she gets... Does she get the big ones? I don't know. She gets Judgment and Spirit Surge all the way up to maximum ranks. I don't believe she gets the final ones. There's basically just big old nuke moves, the forbidden magic stuff there. But she can use Starfall as a princess, so that's also kind of similar. Wherein with Starfall, as well as the final Draconic, or not Draconic, but the final Apocrypha light magic there, you can exercise Undead if they're killed. So there's that. Regenerator, receive regen when attacked. It's intentionally not a thing in this one, with exception... Well, in the mod, it's a thing. And in the mod, you have that on Knights and Juggernauts, as well as Canopus. In the original game, not so much. I'm trying to double-check the skills here real quick, make sure I'm not forgetting something. Because I feel like the Lizards had something similar, but not quite. But I'm fairly certain that's a mod-only kind of thing. So not quite. Mechanically possible, intentionally not done. Magic defense up, anyone can use Resilience. Which moves us on to the Wizard, or Black Mage. So Fire, Fire 2, Bolts, etc., all of that stuff, pretty much any, almost any class can use. Let's go over to those magics here. They can also augment them to be more specialized. So there we go. Let's go over to Fire. Most classes can use some variant. It doesn't mean that they'll get all of them, but as far as basic attack moves, yeah, pretty much everybody's going to get some version of that. Okay, let's see what else is on the list here. Poison, you've got a bunch of different variants on this. But you've got you've got Brimstone, which will do Envenom plus removes TP. You've got stuff just basic poisons. You've got a one-tile poison. You've got your Poison Cloud. Basically, there's like 5 or 6 different types of poison moves like this, with just different variants across the board. Frog. I don't... Hang on, there's one move that I believe actually lets you turn into a bird, but I don't remember if that's mod only or not. It's possible. Let's go check the Astromancer, because that would have been under Necromancy. Yeah, that's... Okay, that was a One Vision mod thing to let you transform yourself into a bird. As far as a frog, the closest... There really isn't much of a equivalent to that one. I mean, Petrification is really about as close as it gets in terms of just completely disabling somebody. It's arguable several different combinations of effects are a thing, but okay, so no frog, that's fine. Let's see, instant death. That's when you get Ozma on your team. No, there is no instant death move, there's just highly effective damage. Flare, so just a non-elemental explosive thing. Basically anything orb related, unless you specifically boost them up, they're pretty much going to be about interchangeable. If you specifically augment them, then yeah, you can boost them. So you could argue that they're not exactly non-elemental, but there really is no elemental like direct resistance, so to speak. It's more like it's situational. Like you have to be very specifically against a particular thing to have that matter. There's no what I'm trying to say is there's no like innate resistance. Like you have a fire dragon, unless they've got something like attenuate fire, they're not necessarily actually resisting fire. It's just going to be damage is damage, unless there's a reason for it to be resisted. Counter magic, not really a thing. Magic attack up, pretty much anybody can use spellcraft. Oracle, what do we got here? Blinds, that's basically misstep or false flight. A bunch of different spellbooks get that. Spell absorb, that's the Lich's gimmick. Now let me, that's Conviction is the move that we're looking for here. Where are you, Lich? Yeah, there's a whole lot of stuff to look through here. So if at any point it's confusing, that's because it is. Alright. Apparently I don't have Conviction on here. What gives? Anyway, Liches can learn Conviction. Basically, it just it shares their... It averages out their MP pool and everybody around them. So if you have like a bunch of knights with charged up MP that they're not using, he'll siphon all of it. If you have spare MP on him, he'll share it with everybody in the area. As far as absorbing enemy MP for attacks, you have Absorb MP as a thing. I forget if that's a thing later for FFT's thing. But yeah, as far as just taking their MP, you've also got that on the Terror Knight as well. Life Drain is also on the Terror Knight. Pray Faith, let's see, Fill Souls with Faith. It could be argued that just putting Spellcraft on somebody through any of the various means, that's a thing, could be equivalent. Makes target lose their faith. You've got, what's it called? Spoil Spell for that. Brings bodily death for zombie. Yeah, you've got Necromancer on that with their undead, their living corpse rather. Let's see, Silence Song. You've got Gremlins for that one. Blind Rage puts Berserk. I would argue Bewitch is kind of similar because just the way FFT handled Berserk, it's just somebody could be locked into that forever. Bewitch is temporary, but it's a similar thing where you can't really knock them out of it, so to speak. At least not normally. So yeah, I'd say the closest thing is probably Bewitch and something like, again, a Fairy, something like Virtuous Dance. Right, Foxbird, lowest Brave level, arguably that's a Weaken. You've got either Fire Magic or... I want to say Dark has... No, not Dark. I want to say Water has some variant to that as well. You got a few different places Weaken can come from. I'm going to try to go through these a little bit faster because I've been going through a little bit slowly, and I just realized how freaking long this list is. Anyway, Dispel Magic. Clerics get that. We've got Paralyzed. That doesn't allow them to take an action. You've got either Lightning or Dark for that. Sleep. You've got Dark or Wind for that. Petrify. You've got Earth or Dark for that. Typically, the way it breaks down is Dark has a single target, less accurate version. Most of the dedicated elemental options have a area of effect, slightly more useful version. Let's see. Absorb used MP. Yeah, a few classes can use Absorb MP. I want to say Clerics have that earliest. I could be wrong on that. But yeah, pretty much everybody can use Absorb MP. That's kind of ubiquitous with anything Square Enix related. Defense up, just almost anybody can use Fortify. Well, everybody can use some version of Fortify. Just, it's less likely the higher you go up. But a surprising amount of classes can use Fortify 4. Or 40 Fortify. Any weather, easily walk over swamps, marshes, poison. You've got Hover. Or you've got the water walking ability on ninjas. Also, technically speaking, you've got that built-in on the Rune Fencer as well as the Buccaneer, which is over here. Recover MP as you move. Arguably speaking, that could be MP Infusion or Conserve MP on the Rune Fencer. Like, I feel like their closest version is gonna be the Rune Fencer. Anyway, moving on. Time Mage. Haste you've got on Rune Fencers as well as Clerics. That'd be over here. They've just got Boon of Swiftness. Haste 2, I mean, same thing. Slow, you've got on Dark. Stop, you've also got on Dark. Don't Move, you've got on Dark, and I believe Wind. Float is on a few different things. I want to say... I want to say it's Draconics and Boots that have that. Reflect... that'd be the Lich's whole thing here. They can just turn on a reflection move for a turn. Basically everything within their radius reflects all magic back. Quick, there's a Dark Spell Paradigm Shift for that, as well as the White Knight's Time of Need ability. Demi-Gravity, this was added in One Vision, but there really isn't like a percentage drop kind of thing. Same thing for Demi 2. Meteor, Dark has that. I mean, it's literally just Meteor. Let's see, Critical Quick. I could say Time of Need is kind of similar to that. MP switch, physical damage is converted into magic damage. You could MP or I apologize. Both HP and MP infusion could be argued as kind of different sides of this. As far as using MP as your shield, there, I mean it's more like TP switch in that case. As far as using MP for a shield, I mean you could argue something like decoy, where you're basically just setting up a decoy. So not exactly the same, but similar ideas. I believe this one could have been implemented, but it wasn't. Short charge time doesn't really exist, so meh. Teleport, Draconic has that, as well as Float, which moves us on to Mediator. So Invitation, you've got Recruit. Almost anybody, well actually, anybody can use Recruit. Almost anybody, not almost anybody. There's a few classes that can learn it. Here we go. You've got Clerics, Fencers, Knights, Ranger, and Princess, White Knight, and Paladin, and Songstress. Too many ands there, I just kept missing one. They can learn that. Persuade lets them act now, so that's just Paradigm Shift. Under a different name, Praise Target, raises Brave skill. Could say Strengthen. You could say that's Lion Dance, actually. Threaten for Breach. There's Comely Dance, I think it's called. Again, on the Swordmaster. Preach Miracles, increases faith and lowers faith. Both of those are on the Songstress. Death Sentence, not a thing. Negotiate for money. Could just say Steal for that. Insult and Abuse. Upsets them with curses. Adds Berserk. Good to say Bewitch. You've got Dark, or you've got fairies or gremlins and stuff like that for that. And then putting somebody to sleep. I mean, you've just got sleep. It's not really... There's a bunch of different things for sleep. FFT has a lot of that where it's just like the same thing for a different class under a different name. Finger Guard evades word attacks. The enemy can't really use recruit skills on you, so that's fine. Equip Gun, that's definitely not a thing. There's only one class that can ever use guns, and that'd be the Fusilier. Monster Talk, speak with monsters and use word skills, even if not a mediator. I mean, anybody can learn Tame or Subdue, they just have to switch over to the class to use it. Which moves us onto the Summoner. Sorry for all the throat clearing. Our weather can't decide anything in Michigan. It's just... It can't decide whether it's summer or winter. It's just somewhere in the middle right now. Alright, Moogle, large area heal. This is kind of like Harvest Dance. Breathes on an enemy with extremely cold breath. I mean, there's literally just Ice Breath, but there's not really an exact similar thing. You could say tier 3 basic elemental abilities are kind of the summons in this one. Because it's just an elemental 5-tile kind of situation. Golem shares part of an ally's damage. There's a few different versions. You kind of go in different directions. You've got Guardian Force on Knights, and you've got Risk Management on Berserkers. So there's that. Let's see, Reflect Magic. That's, again, the Lich. Yeah, most of these are just tier 3 basic elemental moves. Restore particular allies' HP. There's a ton of those. Yeah, I think that about sums it up. For Zodiac and stuff like that, you could say that it's probably the Apocrypha abilities for that. Alright, restore MP when critical. You could say conserve MP is kind of like that. You just basically don't use MP for your next spell. Half of MP, again, similar idea. You could just use Conserve MP or MP Infusion. Both have very similar ideas. Healing Song, again, that's just Harvest Dance on Swordmasters. Let's see, restores MP. I want to say that's one of the songstress abilities that has that. I mean, everything aside from the aside from Nameless Song, which just gives a bunch of random buffs. Which I think the closest version of that is one of the final songs for the songstress, which can give you Healcraft and Regeneration, I think. Let's see if I have that by chance. Again, this save file, apparently not as complete as I thought it was, but screw it. At this point, we're already doing it, so why not? Yeah, just Healcraft. So that's probably the closest version of that. They specifically don't have a lot of these like random buff type moves. It's not that it's impossible, because there are classes that are able to do that kind of stuff. Like fairies are able to do buffs that way. They're also able to do debuffs that way. And additionally, you could say there's stuff like warriors and archers that have AoE like significant boost abilities that work in a pretty much exactly similar range. Where they're guaranteed to hit their next physical hit or their next ranged hit, or they boost their damage against golems or demons or beasts or dragons or what have you. So you could say there's kind of a similarity there in terms of overall idea. They just didn't want to do random buffs and stuff like that. Alright, so Magic Attack, power up on damage. I would say that's the Wish. The Wish with... again, Wiki, Witch, Wish, whatever you want to call it, but Magic Time. Wherever that is here. Do I seriously... Yeah, there we go. Magic Time. So Spellcraft and Spell Strike. Basically making her one of the best casters in the game right there. Face Up increases Faith. Again, you could say similar thing. Just improves her damage and accuracy with magical stuff across the board. Move +3 and Fly. Certain characters already have Fly built in. Move +3, I mean, you just have Swiftfoot going up to 2. Could argue Swiftfoot on a Juggernaut, basically move +3, but whatever. Alright, next up, Samurai. Let's see. Slash damage in an area, that would be Sporogmos on the Rogue. As an action move here, which I apparently don't have. Fantastic. Anyway. Just take my word for it, they get Sporogmos. It's basically the same thing as a draw out. Literally was used in replacement for the draw out moves for the One Vision mod there. And most of these are going to be very similar. It's just different types of damage. AoE MP damage, Angels do that as one of their songs. That's these Divine Knights over here. Let's see, restores HP. Again, that's just Harvest Dance again. More just area attacks, more area attacks. Protective area, that'd be... Not Lion Dance, what's the other one? There's a area of effect Fortify that Swordmasters do as well. Let's see, more damage. Confusion and Death Sentence in an area... I wouldn't say there's a similar... No, there actually is. There's a mass charm. There's things like Bedeviling Dance that Swordmasters do. What else? Yeah, just more area of effects, damage stuff. I always think that that Samurai are more interesting than they actually are, to be honest. I mean, this does happen a lot, to be fair. Alright, Meatbone Slash. When terminal, give damage in the amount of your max HP. That would be TP+. So, this is going to be a weird one to explain to folks that haven't really played this one, though I really can't imagine they would have watched this far. But TP+, so TP4 would be probably the best equivalent to this one. The more you get hit, the more damage you do, the more TP you build up, the more certain moves scale. So, for example, Meatbone Slash would be the equivalent of, like, let's say you have an axe, or let's say you've got a hammer, you've got Tyrant's Fist as your first move. You scale that up with ice. You have TP4. You've taken a bunch of damage. You've been knocked down to critical. By that point, you're pretty much insta-killing anything that you attack next. Or if they end up... well, you can't use finishers as a counter. But yeah, you can use your entire meter to completely wreck something. Blade Grasp, evade physical attacks. This is evade. Evade, except you can only you have to activate it. So let's see if evade shows up here. Yeah, right here. So you've got it on Buccaneers, you've got it on Hoplites. You've technically also got it on Ninjas and Lords, but they have to use it as a ninjutsu ability. Quip Knife, almost everybody gets access to daggers to some degree, even spellcasters, so there you go, most people get daggers. Two hands, you could say that's your whole thing of just two-handed swords over one-handed swords. It's not exactly the same thing, but you can't just put strength in on somebody. Walk on water, water walk is something ninjas can do, and anybody can do with the greased boots. Alright, moving on. Ninja stuff. Everything thrown, just lobber for that. Sunken state, hide by being invisible. As strange as it sounds, this exists in a weird way. So Steel Stance actually functions the exact same way. Because yeah, Steel Stance basically de-aggroes all enemies, because for most skills it doesn't really check what your defense was, or rather what your final damage will be. It'll just do predictive damage that they choose targets based off of. Now, for like the Knight, if you use Phalanx, it doesn't change that number. They will still get attacked, they just won't take much damage. For the Ninja, if you use Steel Stance, it increases your overall defensive value, meaning that the predictive damage they would take is lower on the AI end, meaning that Steel Stance actually functions similarly to the invisibility move from FFT. It's weird, but it's there. And then Abandon, evade percentage rises and becomes easier to dodge. Just dodge. So, I mean, it's just a passive, so it is what it is. Two swords, ninjas still get access to that. Lord is the only one that gets access to all weapons two-handed, although Ranger, technically, Ranger and Buccaneer can both learn double attack as well. And let me find it just to double-check that. Yeah. Oh yeah, and Ozma. I always forget Ozma. Some genius decided she can dual-equip Ice Blades. I don't know. Anyway, move in water. That's something that, uh-oh. Please don't crash. Alright, crap, this is taking a hot minute. Thankfully, it decided not to crash. That would have been entirely for waste then. But yeah, move in water, you get Buccaneers and Rune Fencers that can do that. Let's try to speed this up a little bit more. Calculator, no such equivalent. That class was... Okay, I know it's a very, like, powerful meta class. I personally hate it. And I'm not sure if I'm alone on that. It's just, it feels so metagamey that it's just disgusting. But anyway, moving on. Alrighty, what else we got here? I mean, like, looking over everything that... Every single thing that the calculator does is, like, just straight-up metagame knowledge. Yeah, I don't even think this one counts. Because, like, legit, just game knowledge for the game itself is the best way I can say that that one relates. Mime, you don't really have a Mime type thing, but let's move on to special classes here. Alright, so now we're moving on to the Special Squire, so just different variants of that. You've got Yell, so raises speed by yelling. Could say Speed Star for that. Wish, give your own health to revive an enemy. Or, not an enemy, to revive an ally. That's something that the Angel Knight... Actually, no, I think that's a Paladin move. Yeah, because he has a story reason for that. So basically give their own life to raise somebody else. Wish for that, so Cheer Up. This is going to sound weird. I feel like Vigorous Attack is that one. Because it's still... You're still basically using it as a support move. I know it doesn't raise your like odds of triggering an effect or anything, but you're basically doing an AoE boost that guarantees everybody's next melee hit, which, if it's a counter, I mean, you could argue it's a similar thing. I mean, the counters are always going to be 100% anyway, so... Anyway. Let's see, raises one's brave level, speed level, and physical attack and magical attack by shouting, so scream. Basically, you yell so hard you break the game. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's just, it's so busted. It's so busted. I always, there's some abilities here that I just can't believe they put into the dang game. It's just, I don't know who thought that was a good idea. Anywho, so yeah, there's no direct equivalent because that's kind of dumb. But as far as self boosts go, I guess you could argue Sanguine Assault on Berserkers, because you yell so hard that you gain 50% attack power. So you kind of just ignore armor for the next hit. Sure. I mean, same general idea, I suppose. Ultima, just one single tile hit, just super nuke move. Just use an orb. I mean, same general idea. Alright, Holy Knight. Right, Stasis Sword damages with a Holy Sword. Funnily enough, yes, these actually have equivalents. So Stasis Sword is the Paralysis Blade move that White Knights get. I'm just going to do this from now on. So yeah, White Knight's Paralysis Blade. Split Punch, so Death Sentence. I would say... is that a fair assumption? I would say the closest equivalent, and I know this seems stupid, but the I think it's like Mighty Strike or something like that, or Mighty Impact or something, that Swordmasters get. 25% increased attack power. The class itself sucks hard, but potentially there's some potential for a crazy hit on that. I'm only saying that one specifically because it's swords. Okay, you know what? Had a bit of a think. I was wrong. Insta-Death Sword does exist. You just use the Snapdragon on somebody, and then they instantly die and become the Snapdragon. There we go. There's Split Punch. Crush Punch, Insta-Dead also. Alright. Lightning Stab, Silencing Hit. That's something ninjas get. Technically anyone can use, though. You can just use their scrolls to put Silence Bringer on any weapon. Holy Explosion is... you've got the two-hander special that does that. You've got a one-hander... nah, the one-hander's a single tile. You know what? I would say probably, yeah, the two-hander special, or the 2HK special, I believe, does an AoE. It's either the one of the two katanas has a finisher that's also a Holy Elemental burst move. But yeah, the actual Holy Explosion thing is actually classed as lightning, and I gotta wrap this up relatively quickish, but alright. So, yeah, so in terms of confusion, yeah, let's just go ahead and say two-hander has Grand Cross or whatever else, except it's classed as lightning, and that's what makes it confusing. Anywho, what else? Then we got Holy Knight. Or wait, never mind. That was already Holy Knight. Dark Knight. HP steal. As weird as it sounds, I'm not going to mention the Dark Knight's HP steal. There's a siphon that Griffins get. So basically they attack and heal at the same time. Gremlins also have Vampiric Kiss. Wherever gremlins are on this, their class is a familiar, so that's probably why. Night Sword steals MP. Yeah, that one I will mention that one, because they get an MP steal. Technically speaking, there's also a Necromancer ability that steals HP and converts it to MP, and there's all that. Next up we got Engineer. Let's see, Leg Aim. As strange as it sounds, that's something... I believe it's Juggernauts that have Leg Aim, where they basically can use an action move to remove movement from anybody nearby them. Then I believe it's Hoplites that can remove the action ability from anybody nearby them. So that'd be your Aim Arm and Aim Leg, although technically speaking, casters can do that too. Technically speaking, archers can do that too with specific weapons if they use Tremendous Shot plus a Siege Bow +1. They can guarantee that they can't move. If they use, I believe, an Ixcamilies, then they can guarantee a Shackle. Seal Evil, that's something that Sybil can do, or that Priest can do, and can transfer it over to Princess. And I want to say there was another one that can do that too, but I don't remember right now. Heaven and Hell Knights. So randomized abilities here. This is basically all of the ninja summons. So the ninja summons are almost exactly the same thing, where it's just you select an area and they attack a whole bunch in that area. And for most of the game, they're functionally worthless until you get the Tier 2 variants, and then they just completely annihilate. Same thing with adding Darkness, Confusion, Silence, Frog, etc. They can use blow darts. They can combine those blow dart effects with a bringer effect, meaning that they can potentially like petrify and charm or something like that. Or I guess it would be more like stun and poison. They can do all that kinds of cool stuff in a short area. Let's see. Alright, moving on to Divine Knight here. Shellbust Stab. Weird as it sounds, Terrifying Impact with a Claymore +1. Basically, their defense doesn't exist anymore. We'll just combine that for armor and helmet. Destroys weapon. I would say, I forget what axe it is. One of the axes does weaken, so basically same thing. Terror Knight, Terrifying Impact. Anything with a weaken plus Terrifying Impact, suddenly their attack doesn't exist anymore. Destroys accessory, not really a thing. Okay, Holy Swordsman, more of the above, but just combined now. Blind is just False Strike. A Spell is just MP Drain. Alright, what else here? HP Seal, just absorb HP. Sword fills with a huge amount of faith. It feels like that could be a dirty joke. Let's see. Makes them disrespectful and not believing. These are all standard debuff type stuff. Zombie, already have zombie. You really just make your own dudes zombies. Zombies not necessarily a bad thing. Silence, I mean, you've got on clerics, you've got Silence Bringer, they can be used on anybody. Berserk, again, just kind of feel like Bewitch is a more interesting version of the same thing. Chicken, there really isn't exactly an equivalent, because it's kind of incompatible systems on that one. Confuse is just Charm, again. Let's see, Neutralize magic power and cancels, yeah, you've already got Dispel for that. Let's see, the more damage you receive, the more damage you can inflict. Weirdly enough, this does exist. There's, what's it called? I forget what item uses it, but Pain Aura. It does exist. You get it somewhere in Palace of the Dead. It's absurdly specific. You're pretty much never going to run into it, but then again, you probably won't run into Shock that often. Let's see, Break for turning somebody into stone. You've got that on Earth and Dark, as well as on Gorgons, or, well, basically anything Snake Lady related. Temple Knights, or that was the Temple Knights. We got Dragoner. Basically, you've got all the standard dragon type moves. Those are pretty much the same. Tame Dragon, already covered that one. What on earth? Alright, what else here? Dragon Power Up. I mean, I know it's not exactly the same thing, but we'll just say Empowered Dragon. At least sounds like it would be similar. I know it's just like a self-boost, but Empowered Dragon does the same thing for a different dragon. And then, yeah, your different breath attacks. You've got all your different dragons. They all got their different breaths. All well and good. Let's see, we got Cloud here. Limit skill that blows away with Samurai Spirit? The hell? I mean, just Mighty Impact, whatever. Same difference. Attack 4 times. You've got your multi-attack moves, I suppose. If you want to attack 4 times, you get double impact, and then you combine that with elemental and still. There's plenty of weapons that can do that. There you go. You attack 4 times. Let's see. Inflicts more damage based on how damaged you are. Again, could argue for TP plus on that. Does more damage depending on how injured the target is. I think that's just called Death. Rain with a Meteor. Funnily enough, this exact thing got added in the mod, where you had Cooper Belt. This is basically exactly this move. It's just one range difference. You're just basically attacking by slapping somebody with a meteor coming out of a sword somehow. Dead, Petrify, Stop. Not exactly the same thing. It's Stop, Shackle, Petrify or something like that, but there's a Gremlin familiar move like that. Omni Slash, could say like Cyclone Saber, probably. Cherry Blossom, quite literally this exact same move exists under the one-hander finishers. I mean, the name is the same. It's also, it says the most powerful. Cherry Blossom is one of the most powerful finishers for the one-handed swords, so fair enough. Alright, next we get on to chickens. So Chicken Attack, it's just a peck. We could just put down Griffin for that one. Choco Cure, let's see. You've got pumpkin heads, actually. I don't see them here, but you've got pumpkin heads that are able to do an AoE heal with Pumpkin Pie. Choco Azuna, I think there's a... no, there's fairies that can remove debuffs. I think it's a Selfless Kiss that does that. Black Chocobo just attacks with a meteor. This is known as just using Lob Boulder on any dragons or griffins or hydras or any one of these, actually. They'll basically slap something as if it was a meteor. Red Chocobo attacks with a ball. Not 100% the same, but griffins get a hurricane attack. That's functionally this game's a version of the same thing. Goblins, let's see, Eye Gouge. Trying to remember, there's some passive ability that gives Misstep. I want to say it's Octopi. I don't have them on this list somehow, but I think it's Octopi that give Misstep. So basically same, or False Strike. So same thing there. So we've got Goblin Death Punch, it's just random damage again. Omnidirectional moves, come on now, there has to be more stuff here. Steals enemies' HP by sucking their blood, again with Blood Siphon for the Griffin. Alright, what do we got for Panthers? Poison Nail. Well, you've got Poison Breath on the Hydra. You've got a... another Poison AoE on the Octopi. And then you've occasionally got Poison Attacks off of the Rogues. Petrification, you got Gorgons for that. I mean, none of this stuff is too amazing. Let me just see if there's anything truly unique. Bomb, oddly enough, ninjas have that. Of all things, they've got Evanescence, which is just basically an AoE self-destruct for some reason. No frickin' clue why, but there you go. Alright, that covers all those. Skeletons. Skeletons also exist. They just work differently here. Thunder Soul is just a thunder attack, or a water attack, or a knife attack. That's whatever. What about ghouls? You got anything interesting? Yeah, Sleep Touch. Everything about the FFT ghosts was basically the same as the original TO ghosts, with lots of emphasis on putting people to sleep and whatnot. So, basically putting people to sleep, they still do that. It's almost exactly the same thing. Attack with the Core of Mystery. It's just a basic... It's basically Word of Pain, except non-elemental. Grease Touch covers enemy in oil. Every fire attack has a chance to do fire reverse. So same difference. Let's see, Floataball. Powerful gaze that discourages you. Okay. I mean, Frighten. You've got, Lament of the Dead for that, I suppose? For Look of Fright? Or, again, you could say the Gorgon stuff there. What else we got here? Let's see, Pisca Demons. This has to be something interesting. It blinds enemy with ink. This is literally the Kraken ability. Yeah, just Octopi ability. It's almost exactly the same name, too. It's something ink. It's like mucus ink or something. But same idea. You blind. Sound Waves heals abnormal status by emitting sonic waves. Again with the fairies. Mind Blast confuses target and destroys its mental health. Again with the fairies. Level Blast steals part of one's soul, decreasing 1 level. Okay, there's no equivalent to that one. That's just weird, and you gotta have a monster boost to be able to even pull that off. So you Dravis, I think this was Bird Things. Just Scratch and Feather Bomb. Okay, I guess Feather Bomb is basically the equivalent of Hurricane then, actually. Beak, Shine Lover, get some shiny... Oh. Sounded like it was something a bit different for a moment there. Lowers physical attack power by attacking. That's one of the Dragon's Breath that can do that. Bull Demon, what about you? You got anything interesting? Let's see, raises attack power. Attacks by exhaling fire. Okay, this is all fairly self-explanatory. Stomping Shockwaves. Okay, you've got Raven Eye for the Golems then. There we go. All the rest of this is pretty standard, just attack with big thing. Marlboro. There we go, Bad Breath. Well, you could argue the what's it called? The Gremlin version of Virtuous Dance is basically that. Goo spits fluids to immobilize. Again with the octopi on that one. Turn enemy into a Marlboro. Okay, that's not a thing. Woodmen, those are those trees that never come up. Got Leaf Dance, attacks by dropping tree leaves. Boy, how threatening. It can be countered with a broom. Raise physical defense, again, fairly standard. Or recover HP, or recover MP, already covered all this. Dragons, Tail Swing. Okay, Tail Swing is a thing in this one too. Dash, they actually... well, Dash in this one improves their movement by 3, but tackling is just their basic attack anyway. And then Bracelets are just the same as their breath moves, they just have a different pattern to them. Let's see, Behemoths. Do you have anything new? I mean, you've got a chance for insta-death, which, again, I would kind of argue Golems on that one. Because Raven Eye, once it gets going, like, well into the end game, they can start doing hundreds of damage, and their only downside is the fact that they've got a 25% chance to hit. Except they hit in an entire area, so potentially that could be a huge issue. Then you've also got stuff like Heaven's Tear, but anyway. More with the hurricane stuff. Ulmagest damages enemies with the time-space mechanism created by the stars. I think... doesn't the Astromancer have some unique apocryphal stuff for that? Right. Hydra, basically the same. Tiamat, just a dark dragon. Urabo. Monsters quite... oh, it's the piggies! Okay, straight dash. I mean, again, basic attack. The pumpkin heads are kind of this game's version of those things, except useful. Oink, recover HP, raise dead unit with incredible cry, and recover health. Okay, I think they can use items. Again, we're so far into this, I'm not going to cut it to go get one. I'm fairly certain they can use items. So yeah, they can heal somebody, then just use a pumpkin pie on them. Let's see, Heavy Scent causes abnormal status. I want to say one of their pumpkin abilities does that too. Charm enemy with major nose breathing. Nice. Nose bracelet. I love it. I want to say they can cast Charm, but I'm not certain. Please Eat, it's the ultimate altruistic act. Sacrifices them, and the target gains a level. This got renamed to Bequeath Bacon, I believe, and that's hilarious. But yeah, sacrifice themselves to be eaten. That's basically every monster unit in this. You just sell them to the store, you can buy their meat and eat it. Let's see, Holy Dragons, just every other dragon. I mean, I think we've more or less covered everything here. Everything for Steel Giant is just stuff golems can do too. And that's the end of the list. So okay, there we go. Hopefully that was at least somewhat useful for somebody. This is going to be one hell of a thing to edit together, but, you know, whatever. So if you have any alternate thoughts on this, or have any other questions or stuff that you'd like to have looked into, do let me know. Yeah, that's about that. Have a good one. Take care. And bye.